The first time Joy saw blood, it wasn't from a cut or a fall. It was from a promise. She and Andrew were only 9 years old. They sat under the big tamarind tree that stood at the edge of Makoko, where water met land, where dreams felt possible even in a place built on stilts and struggle. Joy had taken a tiny razor blade from her mother's sewing box. Andrew had brought 2 small pieces of white paper and a bottle cap filled with ash. They were smiling, but their hearts were pounding like drums at a village wedding. "I will never forget you," Andrew said. "I will never leave you," Joy answered. Their fingers met in the air, trembling. 1 small cut each. 1 drop of blood. 1 promise. They pressed their fingers together, mixing the blood. Then they smeared it on the paper and dropped it into the ash. The smoke curled upward like a whisper. From that day, they were no longer just friends. They were something else, something deeper. Back then, life in Makoko was hard, but it was theirs. Children ran barefoot over wood planks and boats passed like buses on water. Joy's father was a carpenter. Andrew's mother sold hot bean cakes in the morning. Nobody had much, but they had each other. Through school, Joy and Andrew would race to the tamarind tree where they kept a box hidden in the roots. Inside it, marbles, secrets, and dreams. "Let's be doctors," Joy once said. "Let's own a hospital," Andrew replied. They would draw pictures of white coats and big houses. But dreams are delicate things. 1 hard wind and they blow away. The wind came in the form of a landlord. Joy came home one day to find her mother crying. Her father sat quietly with a folded paper in his hand. "We have to go," her mother whispered. "Go where?" "To Ibadan. My sister will help us. This place, we can't stay anymore." Joy ran to the tamarind tree that night. She cried there for hours, waiting for Andrew. But he didn't come. His mother had fallen ill that day, and he was at the clinic. The next morning, before the sun rose, they were gone. No goodbye. No hug. No last look. Just silence. Joy wrote letters. Dozens. She mailed them to their old street in Makoko. None came back. None got replies. Andrew did the same. He asked fishermen if they had seen her. He drew her face in his schoolbooks. Sometimes he would sit under the tamarind tree and whisper her name. But slowly the tree stopped talking back. Years passed like slow waves. Joy grew into a quiet, beautiful woman. She carried her past like a folded cloth in her heart. In Ibadan, she studied catering but never became a chef. She married Emeka, a taxi driver with sharp shoulders and a sharper voice. He smiled in public and shouted in private. He expected children, food, silence, and Joy gave all but one. She could not conceive. First they prayed. Then they fought. Then they stopped talking. Andrew became a builder in Lagos. Tall, calm, and hardworking. But inside, he felt like a phone with low battery. His wife, Lisa, was loud, proud, and always on Instagram. She wanted designer bags and Dubai trips. But Andrew just wanted peace. They tried to have a baby for 3 years. Nothing. She blamed his village blood. He blamed her stress. One night, Andrew dreamed of blood. Not violence. Just 2 children under a tree pressing their fingers together. He woke up sweating. Joy had the same dream. In hers, the tree was speaking. Its branches pointed down at her belly, then up to the sky. The voice whispered, "Undo what was done." She told Emeka. He laughed, called it nonsense, and left the house for 3 days. Joy began to wonder, was it possible? Could a childhood vow still be chasing her? One Sunday after service, Joy stayed behind in church. A kind woman named Mama Netta noticed her tears and offered to pray. Mama Netta touched her head and gasped. "My daughter," she said softly, "your soul is tied to another. A boy. A vow. Under a tree." Joy's eyes widened. How do you know?" But Mama Netta just gave her a bottle of anointing oil and said, "When the time is right, the wind will guide you back." In a different part of Lagos, Andrew was speaking to Pastor Kalu, a stern man with deep eyes. "You made a covenant when you were young," the pastor said. "That bond is not dead. You must return to the root." Andrew stared at his hands. The scar was still faint on his left finger. He had never noticed it until now. Things got worse before they got better. Emeka left Joy after blaming her for bringing strange spirits into the home. Lisa screamed at Andrew one night, packed her wigs, and walked out, saying, "Go and marry your tamarind tree." Neither Joy nor Andrew cried that night. They just listened to silence. And in the silence they both knew. It was time to go back. On a cloudy Saturday morning, Joy walked through the old paths of Makoko. Place had changed. There were new houses, new faces, but the smell of wood and fish still danced in the air. She wore a yellow dress. Her hair was tied back. In her pocket, she carried a folded note with one word, "Release." At the same time, Andrew walked slowly toward the same spot, holding a bottle of water and a small Bible. His heart beat loud in his ears. He wasn't sure what he would find. Then, beneath the tamarind tree, they saw each other. First confusion, then recognition, then tears. They didn't speak for a long time. Joy dropped her bag. Andrew sat on the root. Their silence was heavy, full of everything that had never been said. "You came back," she whispered. "You too," he replied. They both looked up at the tree. The branches had grown wild, but the trunk was still strong. It had kept their secret all these years. Joy placed her hand on the bark. I think it's time." Andrew nodded. His voice broke. "Yes, it's time to end this." The tree was quiet, but the air around it was not. A strange breeze blew, even though the day was still. The branches swayed as if listening, waiting. Joy and Andrew sat beneath it like two lost children who had grown up too fast. They had been apart for years, but now it felt like time had folded like paper. Their hearts beat with the same rhythm again. "I thought I imagined you," Joy said softly. Andrew looked down. "Me too. I thought maybe I dreamed you up all these years." They both laughed a little, but it was the kind of laugh that came from pain, not joy. Then Joy became serious. "Do you remember the promise?" Andrew nodded slowly. "We said we would never forget each other. We cut our fingers. We made a blood covenant." Joy sighed. "Mama Netta said that bond is blocking my life. My womb is closed. My peace is broken." Andrew's eyes widened. "My pastor said the same thing. Pastor Kalu. He told me I made a spiritual tie in childhood that needs to be broken." They both stared at each other. Then, without saying anything more, they stood up and faced the tree. The roots looked older now. Twisted. Strong. Joy took out the folded note she had written the night before. On it was her name and Andrew's, and below it the word "release" written 3 times. Andrew brought out a small Bible. Inside, he had marked a verse. "What is bound on earth shall be loosed in heaven." They didn't know the right words. No priest or prophet guided them now. Just memory. Just faith. Joy spoke first. "Today I break every tie I made with you as a child. Not because I hate you, but because I must be free." Andrew repeated after her, his voice firm but shaking. "I cancel every soul tie, every blood promise, and every word spoken in innocence that now holds power." They knelt and dug a shallow hole beneath the tree. Joy placed her paper inside. Andrew added a small wooden cross he carved the night before. Then they lit a match. Paper burned slowly. The smoke rose, thin and white like breath escaping. Then, the wind came. Strong. Sudden. It swept through the leaves above them, and they both fell backward onto the ground. The tree groaned, a long, low sound like a warning or a goodbye. Joy grabbed Andrew's hand. "Did you hear that?" He nodded, trembling. "I think it's done." They sat there for a long time. They didn't talk about the past anymore. Felt like dust that had finally been blown off their skin. Before they left, Joy looked up at the sky. "If God allows it, I hope peace follows you." Andrew smiled. "And I hope your womb opens like the sea." They hugged, tight, warm, and full of meaning. Then they walked away. Different roads, but lighter steps. That night, Joy slept like a baby. No dreams, no voices, just rest. For the first time in many years, she didn't wake up with sadness. She woke up hungry. Her stomach grumbled. Her head felt warm. She looked at herself in the mirror and saw something she hadn't seen in years, color in her cheeks. That same morning, Andrew got a phone call. He had submitted a bid for a huge construction project 2 months ago. He had lost hope. But now the man on the other end of the line said, "Congratulations. Contract is yours. Come in tomorrow to sign." Andrew sat down, stunned. He dropped the phone and began to laugh and cry at the same time. 2 weeks later, Joy went to the hospital for a routine checkup. The doctor asked her to do a pregnancy test just to be sure before giving her malaria medication. She rolled her eyes. "There's no need. My husband left." "We haven't." But the nurse insisted. 30 minutes later, the nurse came back, holding the test like it was gold. "Congratulations," she said with a big smile. "You're 6 weeks pregnant." Joy dropped her handbag. Her mouth opened, but no words came out. She pressed her hand to her belly. Tears poured down her cheeks. Andrew had moved into a new apartment with quiet walls and fresh paint. One day, as he was hanging curtains, his doorbell rang. It was Lisa, his wife. She looked different. No makeup. No noise. I came to say sorry," she said, eyes down. "I've been thinking. Maybe I've been part of the problem." Andrew looked at her for a long time. Then he stepped aside and said, "Come in." The change didn't happen in one day. Joy's pregnancy was not smooth. She had to rest often. The baby was quiet, like it had listened to years of silence before arriving. But each kick reminded her the door had finally opened. Andrew started work on the new site. His hands got dirty. His back ached. But he whistled while he worked. He had joy again. And strangely, so did Lisa. She stopped complaining. She started praying. And one bright morning, just as Joy's belly began to show, Lisa also took a test. Positive. One Sunday, months later, Joy returned to Makoko. This time, she didn't cry. She stood beneath the tamarind tree, now full and green. Children played nearby, shouting and laughing. She smiled. There was no need to go back to the past anymore. But there was power in saying thank you. She placed a small gift at the foot of the tree, a white stone with the word free painted on it. Then she whispered, "I'm no longer tied to pain." Behind her, someone cleared their throat. She turned. It was Andrew. They both laughed. "You too?" she asked. He nodded. "I just came to say thank you." They didn't stay long. But as they walked away, the leaves above them danced in the wind. And it felt like the tree was clapping. Rain fell in quiet drops the day Joy went into labor. It wasn't a storm, just a steady whisper from the sky, like nature was preparing the earth for something soft and sacred. She lay in the hospital bed, sweat on her face, gripping the sheets with all her strength. Around her, nurses moved quickly. The doctor's voice was calm but firm. "You're doing great, Joy. Just one more push." But Joy wasn't listening to them. In her mind, she was back under the tamarind tree. The sound of rain on leaves, the taste of salt in the air, the voice of a boy saying, "I will never forget you." And then, a cry. Loud. Strong. Her baby. A boy. Tears rolled down her cheeks as the nurse placed the child in her arms. His eyes were shut tight, fists balled like he was ready to fight the world. But when she held him close, he softened. The past melted into the present. And in that moment, Joy knew she was whole again. In another part of Lagos, Andrew stood beside a small crib. Lisa was asleep, exhausted, her chest rising and falling in steady rhythm. Beside her, their newborn daughter slept too, wrapped in pink cloth, tiny as a prayer. Andrew reached in and touched her hand, curled around his finger like a vine holding on to sunlight. He didn't speak. He just stood there, thankful. The house was still. No noise. No anger. No fear. Just breath. Weeks passed. Joy named her son Chimalu. God did it. She didn't tell many people about her past. Not about the promise. Not about the tree. Some things, she believed, are meant to stay in the soul, not in the mouth. She moved to a quieter area of Lagos. She got a small job at a community kitchen, helping mothers cook healthy meals for their children. It wasn't fancy, but it felt right. She carried her baby on her back and walked like the world owed her nothing, and yet she held everything. Andrew worked with joy now, not just strength. At the construction site, he became known as the man who smiles. He still had dirt under his nails and sweat on his shirt, but there was peace in his eyes. He didn't preach. He didn't try to explain what had happened. But sometimes, when nobody was watching, he would hum a tune under his breath. It was the song Joy used to sing when they were children. A slow melody, soft and unbroken. One Friday morning, Andrew received a brown envelope in the mail. Inside was a drawing, a child's crayon sketch of a big tree with two smiling faces under it. A small note was paper-clipped to the top. It read, "Uncle Andrew, this is the tree Mummy talks about when she thinks I'm asleep. She said it gave her back her life. I drew it for you. Chimalu." Andrew chuckled. He placed the drawing on his desk, then leaned back and closed his eyes. That Sunday, he went back to Makoko one last time. The water paths were narrower. People had changed. But the tree stood tall, its roots even deeper than before. There were pieces of cloth tied to its branches, names, hopes, prayers. He didn't need to speak. He just sat. And as the wind moved through the leaves, he remembered everything without pain. Joy was sitting by her window when she felt it. The old tree was calling. She strapped Chimalu to her back and took a bus. No reason. No plan. Just a pull in her chest. When she arrived at Makoko, the sky was orange with sunset. And beneath the tamarind tree, Andrew was already sitting. They both laughed, the way old friends do when they stop needing explanations. She sat beside him, her baby resting quietly on her back. He pointed to the cloth tied to a low branch. "That one has your handwriting. I didn't think it would still be there." They were silent for a while. Then Andrew said, "You think we were cursed?" Joy shook her head. "No. Just bound. And now we're free." He looked at the baby. "He looks like you. He has your forehead." They both burst into laughter. Not the sad kind that shakes pain out of the ribs. As the sun dipped lower, they stood and faced the tree. Joy whispered something to the bark. Andrew touched one of the old roots. Then they turned and walked away slowly. This time they didn't look back. Later that night, as rain tapped gently on the roofs of Lagos, Joy sat in her kitchen, rocking her baby to sleep. Chimalu's eyes fluttered, then closed. She looked at him and whispered, "You are not tied to my past. You are born of freedom." In her backyard, a small tamarind seed sat in a pot. It had not sprouted yet, but it would. If you have not subscribed to my channel, you might not hear my voice again, but if you are, then you are growing every day. Check my page for more interesting stories. Thanks for watching.